The Department of Public Health and Human Services is pleased to bring you Aging Horizons. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, fraud, legal issues, veterans benefits, and caregiving. Aging Horizons is a program dedicated to inform and prepare Montanans on these timely issues, making a difference to you and your loved ones. Here now is today's program host.
Hi folks, today on Aging Horizons got a very interesting show for you. We're going to talk about grandparents raising grandchildren and kind of a new evolution of that program here in Montana. Did you know that there is almost 7,500 Montanans that are raising grandchildren? And they're all pretty much approximately 60 years old. So we have a lot to tell you about. Stay with us.
With as many as 1 in 10 Americans at risk for Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia, chances are someone you know and love will receive that diagnosis. When that happens, you may well feel devastated, but know that you are not alone. Help is available. You don't have to face dementia by yourself. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
It's been 27 years. I never thought I'd still be smoking, but here I am, COPD and all. I'm about to have a granddaughter. There's so much to show her, but I'm scared I won't be able to keep up like I used to. I kind of gave up on myself on quitting, but it's different now. I want to be here for her and for my daughter.
Summer in Montana is a great time to visit your local farmers market. Enjoy the social atmosphere while shopping for a wide variety of fresh, locally grown produce. Together with both WIC and Senior Farmers Market nutrition programs, you help feed your family 5 or more daily servings of fruits and vegetables for better health. You also help local ag producers and enhance the state's economy. So, for summer fun that's nutritious and helps Montana's economy, shop at your local farmers market.
I'm Attorney General Tim Fox. Nowadays, all of you have to worry about cybersecurity. Something as simple as visiting pirate websites can put your computer at risk. Hackers use pirate websites to infect your computer and steal your ID and financial information, or even take over your computer camera without you knowing it. Don't let hackers into your house. Be careful with the websites you visit and warn your kids on how to stay safe online. To learn more, visit my website.
Hello everyone and welcome to Aging Horizons, brought to you by the Department of Public Health and Human Services. I'm your host, Kimmy Everman, and today, as I said, we're going to be talking about the evolution of grandparents raising grandchildren. Grandparents raising grandchildren is a pretty big deal, and if you're one of those grandparents, you know and agree with what I'm saying. We have an expert with us today to tell us all about it, Sandy Bailey. Welcome.
Thank
you.
Sandy,
you are the MSU Extension Specialist working with this program.
Yes.
And, you know, as I said, I knew it as grandparents raising grandchildren because we've worked together for many years on this, but it's evolved to something different now, hasn't it?
Yes,
Can you tell us about that?
Well, it first got started when I started with Extension in 2001. And MSU Extension, we look to see what the needs are of the people in the state, outside of the university. And so as I traveled Montana, I found that there were a lot of grandparents who were called upon to be the primary caregiver for their grandchildren. Mm-hmm. And this is where the parents were either unable or unwilling to take care of the children. And that has really expanded, not just in Montana, but across the U.S.
Right.
There's about 2.5 million grandparents raising grandchildren. And most recently, however, we're expanding because we see that other relatives are being called upon to raise kin children.
Aunts, sisters, whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Even siblings.
Mm. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sure.
And the primary reasons people ask me that, they really vary. Obviously, if a parent has died, or if they have physical or mental challenges that prevent them from caring for their children.
Right.
Some of them have substance abuse issues. We had quite a methamphetamine epidemic in Montana, which is still a big issue, and as well as the opioid issue. Some are teen parents that couldn't do it. Some of it's financial. So there's really a wide variety, and it affects all income groups and all ethnicities. There's no one group.
Sure. So what's the Montana Kinship Navigator program? How is that different, I guess, or building on the grandparents raising grandchildren?
Well, I think for me it's a dream come true since we started this in 01. And that is the state DPHHS, Child Protective Services, for 2 years, has received federal money. It's non-competitive funds to expand this to work with anyone who's caring for relative children. So while we still have, probably the most will be grandparents, we will have many other people. And this is something that's available to all the states. So we'll be working with folks who got the children through the foster care system, or they're doing it informally. That means they've come in and taking care of a family situation without the state entering in.
Because there's a good deal, or there's a good amount of folks that aren't going to the state they're just kind of trudging through it on their own.
That's true. And part of that is a lot of people would prefer to do it on their own.
Sure, yeah.
But we also see, especially with the grandparents that we've worked with, they step in before a problem occurs. They can see their adult children struggling, and so they go in and remove the children themselves informally. Obviously, they can't do it, legally.
Exactly.
But they then start raising the children on their own.
And some of them do actually go legally, don't they, and get guardianship and that sort of thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can get guardianship in two ways. One is if the child is in the foster care system, there is a guardianship program through Child Protective Services. Then privately, you can also get guardianship through a lawyer or an attorney.
Yeah.
So.
And, there's reasons to do that, Sandy, that aren't about just trying to take away a child. Why would you do a guardianship?
Well, most, and I'll speak about grandparents because that's the largest group.
Right.
Most of them really would like to go back and be a grandparent again and not a parent.
Right.
And so they don't want to terminate a parent's rights.
Exactly.
And so by doing the guardianship, they have a legal agreement or legal custody, per se, over the grandchild, but at the same time, the parents can come back. It's not terminating the parental rights.
Right. And I know one of the biggest things with that I always think about is that allows them to get medical care for the child without the parent's signature and other things, benefits and that kind of thing if they want.
Yes, but actually you don't even have to have guardianship for that anymore.
Okay, good.
In 2007, Montana legislature passed a couple of bills related to this. One is grandparents and other relative caregivers can sign an affidavit and say that they are the caregiver of the child, and if the parents are unwilling or unable to sign, they can get medical assistance for the child, and they can also enroll a child in school or preschool, something along those lines. And so they can also get medical insurance.
Right. So the folks that are doing this, as you said, they really want to go back to being grandparents, and yet they're selflessly kind of coming forward to help out. And your program is to support them with information, or what kinds of things?
Well, and we will be expanding on that too. But yes, we provide information and resources, what's available in their community and across the state for services for them. They obviously are different if the child's in foster care versus informal care.
Right.
We also do it through a network of local support groups, and we have 24 right now across the state. And so while often grandparents and others go at first just because they're in a crisis and are trying to figure out what to do, many of these groups turn into education and advocacy groups, and just support. And support,
right?
Yeah.
Well, folks, we have a whole lot more to talk about and tell you about, so don't go anywhere. We want to learn.
think the most pleasant surprise when we turned 65 and signed up for Medicare Part B was finding out about our Welcome to Medicare preventive visit.
It was free, and it gave us the opportunity to visit with our doctors and establish a plan for our health going forward.
They reviewed our medical history, measured our height, weight, blood pressure, and counseled us on other risk factors.
To learn more about Medicare's free or low-cost preventive and wellness benefits, call your local SHIP counselor at 800-551-3191. I mentioned it's free, right?
Twice.
Questions about Medicare and other types of insurance? Contact the State Health Insurance Assistance Program office to get answers to questions like, what is the difference between Medicare and Medicaid, and how do you decide if you need Medicare supplemental insurance? This insurance counseling program is not a sales program. It is available to provide answers to your insurance questions. For more information, call the State Health Insurance Assistance Program office at 1-800-332-2272.
Cook foods to the right temperature using a food thermometer. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
In Montana, we know all about responsibility and personal accountability. Don't pay another medical bill that you don't understand. Take charge. Review your medical bills and call your provider right away if you have questions. If your bills are too confusing, call Montana SMP, the Senior Medicare Patrol. Call 800-551-3191 and get connected directly to a local office. Call Montana SMP today.
Hi folks, welcome back. We're here with Sandy Bailey today, MSU Extension, and we're talking about grandparents raising grandchildren and the Montana Kinship Navigation Program. So first of all, before we move on to some of the meaty issues, Sandy, I have heard that placing the kids, that Montana DPHHS is placing more and more children with kin. Is that true?
Yes. Child and Family Services in Montana have done an excellent job in seeking out kin. And I believe we're the top in the nation. If we aren't top, we're right up there.
Yeah.
In fact, 2 or 3 years ago, there was a national report from Generations United, and Montana ranked in the top 10 states for doing more for kinship families than other states. So we're quite proud of that.
Yeah. So. Well, and again, these are folks that are stepping up into a situation they probably never expected would happen to them.
Absolutely. Right? Most are caught off guard.
Yeah. Yes. And it's, is it the placement that we just talked about, why is it so important that we're placing with kin?
Well, the research does find that the children do much better if they're placed with a relative.
Sure.
When they're in foster care than with another foster family. They're finding that over and over again. Right. It is difficult sometimes to find kin. One thing I'd like to remind folks is that you can sign up. You call the child abuse hotline, but you call that Montana hotline and you can say, I would like to be listed for these children should something ever happen.
Oh, great.
So for myself as a grandmother, I could say, if something ever happened to my grandchildren's parents, say there was a tragedy, then they would know that they could call me.
Exactly. So, what a great tip. Thanks, Sandy. So what about the services? Because we know that there's some services that are needed, provided. Talk about those.
Okay, well, if a child is in foster care, there is a foster care payment that the grandparents can, just like any foster family, that they can apply for. And that helps folks, especially if they're nearing retirement or in retirement, or if they're just taking on extra children. That also immediately the children can qualify for Montana Healthy Kids, if there's any therapies, things like that. So there's a lot that folks who are where the grandchildren are in foster care that they can apply for. Those who are not we're doing it informally. They've stepped in before the foster care system has stepped in. They do have some services. They aren't the same. And so, for example, they can apply for temporary assistance for needy families, child-only grant. A lot of people know them as the granny grant.
Right.
The difference is they are much less than a foster care payment. The other is they can still apply for children's health insurance, Medicaid, for the children. But at the same time, when they do that, then Child Support Services will seek out the adult parent to try and recoup some of those costs. So that provides somewhat of a barrier because some grandparents aren't aware of that.
Right. So. Is there any reason why someone would want to stay with the more informal? I mean, it seems like it would be so much more effective to go with the actual the formal program.
And that's interesting. A lot of people have that view. Why would you not do it? Well, I would say one of the biggest reasons is because the grandparents or aunts and uncles step in before the state comes. So say the grandparent goes and sees that the child's not living in a good household and suggests to her daughter that she take the child. Then if she calls Child and Family Services, she's already removed the child. It's no longer in danger.
Okay, gotcha.
And that happens so often because no one wants to see their grandchild hurt before they can step in.
Well, and you know, I think also as you were speaking, I was wondering about the stigma of having child protection come and take a child, and maybe some families just aren't up for that and want to step in and get it sort of, if they can, squared away on their own.
Absolutely. There's a stigma. There's just also that, you know, families like to take care of their own.
Exactly. This is a family matter.
It's a family matter. And I've heard both sides. Sometimes I hear parents say, yeah, I don't want to have, or grandparents, I don't want to have to be stuck with these rigid rules of when the parents can visit or taking them places or how how we do our lives. On the flip side of it, I've had some grandparents say, well, with the Child Protective Services they're the bad guy. They can talk to the parent, and I don't have to get involved.
You know what? And that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, so there's two sides to it.
Right.
And there's no one answer. It depends on your situation and your family.
Right. And I guess my only thought is that when you get to that age and maybe you are in retirement, you're probably on a fixed income, and you're really... It isn't a handout. It's a way of helping take care of the kid.
That's
or the kids.
And that's what I try and emphasize when we talk about the choices.
Right. Because, I think it's important for us to say many times, it's not a payment, it's a support for that child, and allows them to stay in that safe, stable, known home, right?
Yes.
Well, Sandy, we've really covered a lot of bases, but we have some more to talk about, right? Okay. And we want people to really know how to find information about this and how they can get involved if they need to. Folks, there's a lot more grandparents that are raising their grandkids all over the country and also in Montana. And we're trying to make sure that people get educated, doing some outreach, and bringing an expert like Sandy to talk about the program that's available. We have more for you, and we don't want you to go anywhere, so stay with us.
Every generation produces heroes, men and women who step forward to defend our country in time of need, no matter the personal cost to themselves. And though we can never fully repay them, we can make sure they have access to low-cost, long-term care when they need it. That's what Montana's Veterans Homes are all about. If you've got a hero in need in your family, call us. We can help.
Good care is your right. In Montana, there's over 11,000 beds in nursing homes and assisted living facilities. If you or a family member needs assistance or help in obtaining information about care issues and placement options, call 1-800-332-2272. If you or a family member need information about Montana's long-term care resident rights, or if you need help solving a problem or a complaint about a nursing home or an assisted living facility, call us at 800-332-2272.
If you give or receive care, you already know that it can cause stress on caregiver and receiver alike. The good news is, if you have limited resources, help is available. The Montana Lifespan Respite Program may be able to help you pay for care while you take a break. Even better news is how easy it is to apply. You can get an application online or have one sent to you. We'll get back to you within 5 working days. Respite for caregivers. It's okay to need it. It's okay to want it. It's okay to get it.
If the Aging Network in Montana was a restaurant, the sign out front would say, over 50 million meals served over the last 30 years. Since adequate nutrition is critical to health and quality of life, nutrition services are an important factor in keeping older Montanans healthy, independent, and living in their community and home. To find out more about senior nutrition programs in your area, call 1-800-551-3191.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Aging Horizons. We're here talking about the Montana Kinship Navigator program today with Sandy Bailey from MSU Extension. Sandy, we're always glad to have you. Now, one of the things that we were talking about off camera that sounds kind of exciting is you have a grant from the Children's Trust Fund. What's that about?
The Children's Trust Fund is through DPHHS, and we've had a 3-year grant with them. This year, what we're doing, or what we did do, is on April 9th, we had a kinship caregiver leadership seminar.
Oh, super.
And what we're trying to do is get grandparents and other kinship caregivers to be more active in the lives in the community, to make changes for these families, because there are so many.
Right.
So, for example, at this one, we had an attorney come and talk about how to get guardianship when one wasn't in the child was not in the foster care system.
Okay.
We also talked about trying to be assertive and advocate for your the child that you're caring for, such as how to approach the schools, the teachers, your healthcare provider, if there's a social worker involved, trying to get them to understand what's available and what isn't.
Sure.
And then the final part of that, we have a group from Billings, the Voices of Incarceration, who came up and talked about what connections, if any, communication that children whose parents are incarcerated should have once they're released. This is primarily, say, parents who have been incarcerated for some time.
That's very interesting. That's what we hadn't talked about incarceration yet, but that's also one of the reasons that a grandparent might step in or for a child, because that parent is incarcerated.
True, and incarceration can be anything from a few days in jail to being incarcerated, say, in a prison. Quite a few years ago now, I looked at some data that we had on Montana grandparents, and I believe it was about 43% did mention that their adult child had been in jail or prison. So there is a correlation there, especially when you're talking about people getting involved with drugs and things like that.
So, in Montana, is this an issue that's growing? Are we having more and more grandparents that are in this position, or kin that are in this position?
Yes, we certainly are, and there's a couple of reasons for it. One is that in 2007, the Fostering Connections Act, which is a federal act, stated that once a child is removed from a home, that they do need to look to kin first. We've also had just many things happen to families today, and Child Protective Services, they're always looking for more foster parents, so they often look to kin. We talked earlier about how we know that kin is the best placement. And I think there's just a lot going on in society. It's not one thing that's causing
Absolutely. It's always very complicated and messy, like life,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how do people get in touch with you, or the kind of information that they need? How do people find out about all of this if they're thinking this might happen in their lives and they need more information?
Well, as I said, we're just transitioning to the Montana Kinship Navigator program.
Right.
And so we will be putting up a new website.
Okay.
We do have a website right now that is through MSU Extension. So msuextension.org will take you to the main website, and under Family and Human Development, you'll find our grandparent page, which will then be expanded.
Mm-hmm.
We now have a toll-free number that folks can call to, and that number is 833-445-3395. And so that would be the easiest way to reach us.
And is that a 9 to 5 type of a number, where 5 days a week, or when can a person call that?
I have a new person starting Monday who is the program manager for this new project, so we should have someone that could respond at least within 24 hours to your call. We'll be, pretty much 8 to 5.
Right.
Monday.
And a person, I'm assuming a person could leave a message, it's confidential, and the person would, like you say, probably within 24 hours get back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, they could get back. And what we would do is talk to the person, find out what they needed, search for resources if we don't know what's available, and then we often will refer them to a local support group should there be one in their area.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it's totally confidential.
Great.
So.
Yeah, because I think, along with the stigma, that's something that people really want, because it is a family matter to so many of us. We don't want it sort of all out there.
Right. Yeah.
Well, Sandy, as you said, you've been working with this for a number of years. What do you think is one of the best things that's come of these projects through this evolution?
Well, I would say that these kinship caregivers are my heroes. I always call the grandparents my heroes, because they will start out and say, I don't know what to do. They'll have their friends saying, how could you do it? And within a short period of time, they'll say, I would never change it. They also give others the advice, you can do it.
Yeah.
So.
And I imagine that it's like so many other things in life. There's not an option. You just do it.
You just do it. You can do it. And there is no one type of family.
Exactly.
So.
And what a great philosophy, because there isn't just one type of family. And if people are supportive and love you and care and keep you safe, that's a good family to have.
It's a great family.
Yeah.
That's what kids need.
Well, Sandy, it's been great having you here. And as I said earlier, I've watched this evolve. It's very exciting to see, and so glad it's expanding the way that it is. And wish you all kinds of luck, and hope you'll come back and talk to us when it's all expanded and out there and brand new and ready to go.
We'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Folks, it's such an important topic. There's so many raising their kin, their kids, the grandkids. Get the information you need. Don't try to do it alone. You don't have to. For Aging Horizons, I'm Kimmy Everman, and I'm so glad you were with us today. See you next time.
Special thanks to the Department of Public Health and Human Services for their continued support. Hosts on Aging Horizons are program specialists at the Montana Office on Aging. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions. For more information about Aging Horizons, call the Department of Public Health and Human Services toll-free at 800-332-2272.